Literally the next day after we complain about Final Fantasy representation in Smash, Sephiroth shows up. This is what, the third time that's happened to us this year?
We just bowl the turkey.
It always seems to
friends.
be Nintendo too.
Yeah. We can't talk about Pikmin. We can't talk about 3D Mario. Can't talk about
Persona.
or Persona.
Or Zelda.
So here's the question. Do we stop having a YouTube channel because we're always going to be wrong? Or do we keep on having a YouTube channel to keep being wrong and make the world a better place because of it?
Hey, we've been wrong for like over 10 years. What's one more?
I don't know about being wrong, because I was the one saying that they were definitely going to localize Persona 5 Scramble. And lo and behold, I was right.
I mean, yeah. To be fair, in my defense, at that particular point in time, Atlas was being particularly crappy about a number of things. Apparently, they're going to do a patch for the SMT3 thing, remaster, which will make it absolutely, completely better. Totally, absolutely, for sure.
It'll be fully patched by the time it comes west, so.
Are you trying to do that on purpose, Ted, or?
No, I'm being sarcastic. My friend Catherine, who was on for Spyro, you may remember. We also still have not done Spyro 3. That's a tangent for another day. Anyway, she's so disillusioned about the whole thing. She thinks that they're not even gonna dub it in English, even though the trailer has English voice acting. And she's just like, nah, they only got Matt Mercer to do the lines, and he's playing every character in the game, which I think would not be that out of place for Atlas to do.
They'll localize it. They haven't fallen to Gust's level of just giving up on localizing their fully localized series yet.
What did Gust make?
Well, Gust makes Atelier.
Oh, Atelier. Okay.
Yeah. Also, Blue Reflection and Knights of Azure would be their C-list games.
Okay. I mean, Atelier is. I'm not trying to say that they're bad games. I've never played them,
but they're very niche.
They're kind of the definition of C list, you know. At least to me. And again, that's not trying to say that they're bad. It just means that they're about as niche as you can get.
It's unfortunate though, because they're mostly really good. And up until Ryza, which is ironically the game that got really popular over here, up until Ryza, they had English voice acting, but then Ryza didn't. So it's like they gave up on dubbing just one game too soon.
That's maybe they wanted to lean into the audience,
market.
Yeah, the weeb market, because I feel like that's kind of what happened with Yakuza. Yakuza did have a English dub at first, which apparently is, I don't know if it's bad or not, because I've heard that they got really good actors to do some of the characters.
I mean, Mark Hamill's in it, so.
It's bad. Okay. It's bad. It was so bad.
So it's like
okay. So, like what, Mark Hamill just took the check and clocked out for a weekend recording?
Mark Hamill did the best he could with that kind of animation style, but, and with the lines he was given, but he really, when you listen to him, he's really just Joker who curses in that game. So, you know.
And that's not who Majima is exactly.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, we didn't have as clear an idea of who Majima is back when Yakuza 1 was the only game we had with him in it. So
he basically is just like Kiryu's boy. He thinks he's Kiryu's boyfriend, but Kiryu wants nothing to do with him. That's the vibe the internet tells me their relationship is like.
Well, he kind of does give off that energy sometimes, but we've had 7 games with him now. So no, 8 games with him now. And, you know, he's had plenty of time to develop as a character. No, 9 games with him now, because there's Dead Souls to count, too. And Dead Souls has some of the best Majima stuff, because it was the first game he was playable in. So, yeah.
Oh boy, it's a part of the Final Fantasy VII Remake that's very blatantly padding because the Midgar section is too short on its own.
It's blatantly padding, but it has 2 of my favorite songs in the entire
this music is very different than everything else we've heard at this point.
Yeah, because it's not from the original game.
The Collapsed Expressway and the battle theme High Five are 2 of my favorite tracks in the game.
They named the battle theme High Five?
It's because there's this running joke where Aerith keeps trying to high-five Cloud, and he's just not getting it.
Until later, but then at that point it's too late, and it's one of the most adorable moments with Cloud.
It is.
Aerith, why is your 5 doing drugs? It's bad for you.
Okay, this section is padding, but it's good padding. Not only does it have some really good character moments that, honestly, I don't think the Cloud-Aerith dynamic would have worked without the moments we see in this area, but it also takes a random-ass set piece from the 2-screen area that this entire dungeon is based on and turns it into a recurring puzzle. You know that robot arm? You remember the robot arm. I'm pretty sure even you remember the robot arm, Ted.
I actually do not remember the robot arm at all.
You remember the Hell House?
Well, because you fight a freaking house out
but
of
the
nowhere.
screen that you fought the Hell House in had a giant robot
Look,
hand.
I played the game 5 years ago. I don't remember all of the specifics.
It's just a random environmental set piece in the original game. There's this unmoving robot arm drawn into the background art for this area, and there's no explanation for why it's there or what it does. Well, this game brings it back, and it gives it a purpose, and you use it as part of a puzzle to make your way across.
Oh, that's neat.
Puzzle, quote unquote.
Well, it's not a very high intelligence puzzle, but there are some solutions to be found if you want to
So
get some
even
extra
you
items.
can solve it, peasant.
Look, I think it's very important for RPGs to have stuff like this. Even if it is just the most basic of Pokemon Strength or Tales of Symphonia block pushing puzzles, you know?
I mean, yeah, it's better than just a straight hallway, but it's just one of those.
There's that word again.
It's one step above that. It's fine. It gets the job done, but it's very clearly just padding.
But here's the thing, though. It's only padding if you played the original game. Like, what is it to a newbie?
That's
Well, I mean, I don't think
it's
anybody
still
would
ki-
argue
it's
that
still
this
kinda
part of the
padding.
game adds to the plot, but it does add gameplay content. There's lots of dungeons in every RPG that don't do anything for the plot, you know, but they're there so that you
I mean, it's
have something to
a
do.
point worth considering, I think, what John said. What is this to a newbie? Because looking at Final Fantasy VII Remake as a reimagining, you have to, like, if you're gonna evaluate the reimagining part, you have to at least partly look at every area of the game as if, like, if this was the original game we got, if this was the first version of the game, how would this fit into its flow? Like, it's easy.
I'm gonna be devil's advocate here, though, in that the way that the game's story is written, it doesn't want it to be its own standalone thing because
Yeah,
it has
I know.
the writing.
I know.
But that's a completely different.
but at the
discussion.
same time, looking at the game as a game, like design-wise and in terms of pacing, like there's meta stuff in there. No mistakes, no excuses, but setting that issue aside, if this were the first version of Final Fantasy VII that had ever existed, would this area be seen as pure padding?
Yeah.
Because
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. It fits in with the overall pacing of the game.
Yeah. It is padding in the sense that it wasn't here in the original game. And that original area was only 2 screens as opposed to this, entire dungeon. But I do not consider it padding in its purest definition. Because stuff does happen here. Like, because to me, padding is something that just blatantly to extend gameplay time and nothing matters.
Yeah.
But we do get interesting character moments. We get, I guess that's really, but that to me, that's all it really needed to have.
Well, that's what
And also good music.
filler, filler isn't always just filler. Filler is important in some cases. Here's an example from anime. In Dragon Ball Z, there's a lot of arcs in that series that can be considered a filler. But I tried to watch Dragon Ball Z twice. It's just not my thing. But I tried to watch once with all the episodes, and I tried to watch a second time in the Kai version where they cut some stuff.
Yeah, I assume you're talking about the Gohan and on his own in the wilderness stuff.
That stuff was good, yeah.
Yeah, when you cut a lot of that stuff out, the dynamic between Gohan and Piccolo, which makes Piccolo's death at the end, actually a really important and kind of moving piece, it doesn't work nearly as well because the slow growth between Piccolo and Gohan just doesn't exist when you cut out half of the quote-unquote filler episodes.
Yeah.
'cause-
You know, there's another similar thing. Naruto. Okay? Naruto, the king of filler.
Of life.
The king of so a lot of the filler was just straight up bullshit. But one of the things I do appreciate about the anime over the manga in Naruto's case is that a lot of the time the writers who wrote the filler took the opportunity to just utilize characters that went underutilized in the manga. For example, Hinata, who gets like maybe 2 big story moments in the manga and is just sort of absent for most of the rest of it. A lot of the best filler episodes in that are just further exploring the potential of the character that Kishimoto sort of accidentally wrote as a really good one. So there are quite a few stories that just add to that one character, and in the end that makes the payoff at the end, where, you know, Naruto and Hinata actually get together, actually really worth it, whereas in the manga it just sort of happens.
Yeah. Filler can enhance what the manga originally had written down.
It's just usually it doesn't.
Most
Curry
of
of life, yeah.
Well, from my experiences, no, they don't. But I only have Dragon Ball to go off of that, because most of the only other things I can think of is when anime goes in a completely different direction, and I think
That's a
of
different thing entirely.
Yeah, no, yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's why I only have Dragon Ball to go off.
Mentioning Naruto again, another pretty ingenious bit of filler they did was, like, while they were waiting for the whole war thing at the very end of the series to actually finish in the manga, they actually, okay, you know how at the end, what's-his-face, like, casts an illusion on everyone and basically traps everyone in an illusion. They actually did episodes for certain characters and what their illusions actually were, rather than just getting little snippets of a few. And you get episodes for characters who are entirely superfluous and who don't actually have much screen time at all in anything. Like 1010, of all people, gets one of the best goddamn episodes in the series, where she realizes it's all an illusion, and she's trying to get out of the illusion, but the illusion tricks her into just going with it because she's this insignificant character who hasn't amounted to anything, and this illusion is her amounting to something in a big way, and she's really digging it, and the illusion just sort of draws her in that way, and it's awkwardly a really good payoff for her not having much character before that. Somehow. I don't even know how they managed that.
Anime is a big one where you don't really get a good sense of all the, because especially in shonen manga, a common way that a lot of them fall for me is that there's so many characters and none of them do anything except for the main hero.
Yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah, where extra arcs allow those characters to matter a little bit. But it's not just anime. Like, I'm watching The Mandalorian right now. I've watched all but the last episode of Season 2 at the time of this. And there are some episodes that don't really do a lot for the plot, but they're still good because they flesh out the characters, you know? And it's like, I still enjoy watching them because the atmosphere is so good.
The Clone Wars is pretty much the same way. I won't go so far as to say that Rebels has the same quality. Really, Rebels is only good when it's focusing on its main plot. But Clone Wars has a lot of stories happening within that time frame, and a lot of the best ones aren't really all that plot critical to anything. Like, the best thing that Clone Wars ever does for the series, for the franchise as a whole, is it gives Anakin time to actually be a good character. Because, let's face
That's
it...
what I've heard. I haven't watched it myself.
He doesn't do much of that in the movies.
They got close in 3. The problem is it's supposed to be payoff for this arc that he didn't have in the movies.
Yeah.
Because I think Hayden Christensen gets some flack for being a bad actor, when I think that's not really true. I think he can.
No, that was Lucas's right.
Yeah, he's a genuinely good actor, and he's played good parts in movies that have good direction and good writing. But
So, fun fact, there are rumors about Hayden Christensen coming back for the Obi-Wan series they're doing on Disney+.
They confirmed that at the Disney Investor thing.
No,
whatever.
he's coming back as Anakin Skywalker for Spider-Man 3.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Well, you know, he's got a skateboard with Spider-Man, as we know from the in-canon Tony Hawk's Pro Skater series.
so that YouTube video that I tweeted where it's bully Peter Parker from Spider-Man 3 lightsabering the rebels to death.
Yeah, the one where he's dancing down the line.
He's gonna put some dirt in their eyes.
You just see Peter doing like the hand twirling thing while it's bum bum bada bum 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 bada bum 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 bada bum 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 bum.
This one encounter with the two smoggers. Fuck these two smoggers.
It's because you're in an enclosed area.
This area is way too narrow for that goddamn AoE electrical attack. Die.
Oh no, the fire spell doesn't trigger the self-destruct. God forbid. Wait, what the fuck? It didn't. I guess you incinerate it to self-destruct.
I think there's like a set probability of self-destruct triggering.
Maybe.
So to try to talk about the dungeon for a moment, you were saying that the arm puzzle's used throughout this as like a little mini puzzle.
There's only like 2 of them, though.
3.
Better or worse than constant Tales of Symphonia block pushing?
Well, there's only 3 of them, and it's a gimmick that's exclusive to this one dungeon, so...
There are 2 levels to the puzzle, though. There is, I want to get through, and I want to get everything in the puzzle sort of difficulty.
Yeah, you see there's materia down there. So,
yeah.
if you get Aerith up to where the materia is, you can get the materia. And this one's really easy and obvious to do, just to teach the player that... in the next one, there's going to be another item, and you're going to have to put a little more thought into it if you want to pick it up. But yeah, I like how they actually contextualize the random-ass robot arm as a construction tool, because this is a thing about Sector 6 that existed in the original game, but you only really saw it once, and that was in the Shinra Tower, when you were looking at the model version of Midgar. One of the sectors was destroyed, and you might think it was Sector 7 because that's the one you saw be destroyed. But why would they have a model that was that already had Sector 7 destroyed in it, right? It's been like 2 days. It was actually Sector 6, and there was an accident during Sector 6's construction and the plate fell. So by the time Sector 7 fell, Midgar was down 2 whole sectors. That's 25% city destruction there. Not exactly a great track record for Shinra. I think the story of how Sector 6 got destroyed was the subject of Before Crisis, but...
I think that one was actually a legit accident, though, I think is the thing.
Yeah, well, I think it had something to do with the stupid super weapon that...
Yeah, I mean, they were doing stuff that caused it, but they weren't intending to drop the plate.
It wasn't malicious, unlike Sector 7.
Yeah.
I think it might have just been a bona fide accident.
I don't really remember the plot of Before Crisis because it's been like 5 goddamn years since I've glanced over that wiki. But
so is Before Crisis the one where you play as
the Turks?
Oh, the Turks. Okay.
Yeah, it's a mobile game. I think there might have been
In
a
Japan
PSP
only.
version at one point, but it's Japan only.
I don't know if it ever got a PSP release in Japan. But yeah, basically just mobile online.
Yeah, it was a game where you play as Turks. The story has to do with the militant branch of Avalanche, and yeah.
Again, it's a game I wish that just had a dedicated PSP release because it's ugly as hell. Like it's a.
It is. It's a game made for old flip phones, basically.
Yeah.
So those tiny low-res screens, you know how
It's like
it is.
Kingdom Hearts V-Cast.
Yeah, didn't the old flip phone days also have a cloud snowboarding game on it in Japan?
Yes, I think they did.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't think I've ever seen it in action though.
I mean,
It's probably just
that sounds like
an extension of the
something I would
Gold Saucer
play
game.
while waiting in a line. So, you know.
Yeah. It's like Sonic Dash, but it's a cloud on a snowboard.
Now, when Aerith wants to talk to you here, you can ignore her and just move on. I think this might be one of the moments you have to build affection or lose affection with her.
That's for sure.
But I'm not sure. I haven't looked it up in a guide or anything. But if you go too long without following her up here, she just returns to you and you miss this cutscene.
So can we.
I know this because I accidentally missed this cutscene on my first attempt at recording this area, and I had to start over.
And normally, whenever a character veers off to look at something, I tend to follow them and see what.
Well, what
they're
happened for
staring at.
me was that my camera was turned the other way, and she said, "Hey, over here, look." And by the time I swung the camera around, I had no idea where the fuck she'd gone. So, so I went in entirely the wrong direction, realized she wasn't there, and then tried to get back here, and by then she'd given up waiting for me.
Interesting that they have vinyls and vending machines in this universe.
Oh, they're actually CDs.
The future.
Kinda in a rush, so...
No, they're jukebox vinyls.
Not a fan of the jukebox Cosmo Canyon.
Yeah, Smash Brothers did a way better one.
Oh my god, the Cosmo
I can't
Canyon
believe
is so
a
good.
Cosmo Canyon remix exists in Smash Brothers now.
I like how Sakurai had to be like, look, we had to deal with Square Enix's bullshit. In
Listen,
order to get
idiots!
this music in the game, you better be grateful. Never ask me for anything ever again.
Indeed.
God bless the ring.
Well, in any case... Oh, geez. Goddamn the wind spells. I hate the wind spells, in particular, because they're kind of hard to see coming. I mean, you can if you're really paying attention, but with all the flashy
It's wind.
effects, they tend to sneak up on you.
Here goes.
It's not as easy to dodge out of it as it is to dodge out of an ice spell.
You jittery?
But on the flip side, the enemy always dodges away from it. Always. So, you know, all these flying enemies that are weak to wind, don't bother unless they're stunned or something. Just hit them with fireballs and lightning spells.
Or lightning, yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be so much of an issue if the enemies didn't immediately aggro on whoever you're controlling immediately. Like, if you can distract them with other party members as you're playing as the caster, I think it'd be better.
You can also just, like, not control the character who casts the wind spell. So...
Yeah. And just like, command them from...
Yeah, command
like
them from
Cos
the menu
POV,
without
basically.
switching over them. Or only
Yeah.
switch over to them very briefly to get them inside the arcane ward, and then switch back and immediately command them to cast the
The
spell.
issue with that, though, is that you have to deal with a slower filling ATB.
Not
Yeah.
fast, okay?
I mean, it's always annoying to me in games when the enemy knows which character is being actively controlled. Some of the Dynasty Warriors games where you can control more than one person are really bad about this.
Yeah.
The one that is the worst from the top of my head is Dragon Quest Heroes 1, where there's a super boss where you'll be fighting the guy as one of your characters, and then you switch to somebody all the way across the room, and he just knows to disengage from whoever he's fighting and run all the way across the room to your other character. And it's, I just want to heal, man. Leave
Of course,
me
there
alone.
is always the provoke materia. That's an option.
Yeah, but
why
I
would you
mean,
waste a
like-
slot with that?
Anybody around?
I mean,
What?
I never use it.
Status
but
effects, those suck. You like to take a more...
We're like maybe a part or two out from when I just turn Aerith into an unstoppable death machine by giving her the ATB boost materia. So at that point, it doesn't matter who's under aggro, because, you know, I can instantly start any battle with 2 ATB segments, lay down an arcade ward, and just blow shit up.
Oh man, Beck really fell on hard times after Mighty Number 9 flopped.
Oh, man, poor dude.
This is probably the most disappointing part of the soundtrack direction, because this is the only time we hear the original Wall Market theme. And it's been recontextualized to be the theme for these guys. Because Wall Market has an entirely different theme.
Yeah, the original Wall Market theme kind of had this you're swaying around like a drunken ass kind of feeling to it.
Yeah. It was very skeevy, because Wall Market was a very skeevy place.
Yeah, but they obviously wanted to play Wall Market as a bit more serious here, because you can't really soften the blow of all the skeevy stuff in realistic Wall Market the way the original game did with its bobblehead presentation.
Yeah, they kind of played it more for comedy than anything else in the original. So
Yeah.
if you're trying to play it a little bit more straight, you can't have blam, blam, trombones going on with the music track.
Yeah, so, like, they achieved a different kind of comedic impact through, ironically, a more serious presentation, but I think in doing so they did have to look at some of what made the original version work and say, okay, this doesn't really fit anymore. So they had to find a different place for it.
I would argue it would have fit in the Coliseum area,
Maybe.
but I do agree that, like, considering where the Wall Market is now in this game, it doesn't exactly fit. Yeah, but I wish it was utilized more than what it just is. I think that's the last time we hear the theme, because
Yeah,
now
I
we just
believe
get
so.
the battle theme version of it throughout the rest of this time.
Yeah, well, apart from the jukebox, yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, that's an entirely different mix.
And then I end the part by walking out the wrong door.
Oops.
This is the wrong room. Alright, we will see you all next part, where we finally reach Wall Market and get the next leg of the main plot underway.